What's the most amount of money that you spent on something that wasn't a home or a vehicle or tuition related or anything like that? I'm talking about something that's related to a hobby. So maybe that's a TV, maybe that's a pair of shoes, maybe that's some golf clubs. For me, it's definitely guitars. I've bought a few guitars over the last couple of years, and some of which have been expensive by my standards. And I wanted to make a video for people who are just maybe haven't purchased an expensive guitar before and just things to look out for. So before we get any further into the video, I'm going to define what I mean by expensive. So this is going to mean different things for different people. For me, I think of $2,000 and up as expensive for a guitar, and $1,000 and under as inexpensive, and the $1,000 to $2,000 range is like kind of like the sweet spot. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with guitars under $1,000 because I have two of them and they're both great and there's nothing objectively wrong with them. And I'm not saying that you need to go out and spend a bunch of money to get a quality guitar because that is absolutely not the case. But this is just kind of like not a warning, but just maybe things to be aware of when you do decide to get a guitar. So again, that's going to be $2,000 and up for expensive. So let's get into it. So the first thing that you may want to be aware of when you buy an expensive guitar is that could potentially raise your floor. So what do I mean by that? I used to think that $200 was expensive for a guitar. That was until I bought a guitar that was $600. And I remember that transition because as a kid, my first couple of guitars were, I think my first one I got for free, and then the one after that was definitely under $200. But once I got serious after that second guitar, my third and fourth guitar was like they were $200, and that was like the spot where I was like, if I get a guitar, it's just always going to be $200. And I remember getting one of those guitars, and I went into Guitar Center and I saw like a Fender Strat or something, and I think it was like $1,200, and I was like, who would spend that kind of money on a guitar? That's a lot. And then I went and grabbed my $200 guitar off the wall and then checked out and purchased it and walked out. But that's how I viewed it. And then I remember a few years later, after I played that guitar for almost like 8 or 9 years, I got my next guitar, and that one was triple the price. It was almost like $600, and that was a B stock or a demo from Sweetwater. And I just remember like, wow, this is a lot of money for a guitar, but I really wanted it, and I was so glad that I got it. And I actually, Sweetwater had that payment thing where you could pay in installments, so that really helped convince me to get that guitar because I really wanted it. And yeah, so fast forward a couple of years after that, I then got a Strandberg guitar, which was around like $2,000. So what I'm getting at is my floor raised. So, and you could consider it to be exponential, if you will, because $200 used to be my ceiling, and then I burst through that, and that became my floor when I got the $600, because I was like, oh, now I got the $600 guitar, so guitars around this price point don't seem as bad. Well, then, I burst through that ceiling, and now I'm looking at the $2,000 range, and I've purchased a few other guitars that have been $2,000 and up since then, and it doesn't feel so scary. So if you haven't bought a guitar yet that has cost what you determine to be expensive, just be aware that the price that you pay for that expensive guitar may become your new floor. So the second thing you're going to want to be aware of, and this one may seem kind of obvious, but price does not necessarily equal quality. So I'm not saying you have to go out here and buy a guitar that's over $2,000. I'm not even saying you have to go out and buy a guitar that's over $1,000 to get a quality instrument. I have a PRS SE CE24, and that guitar cost me it cost me under $700, and that instrument just oozes quality. It feels great. It was set up great, and I have no real issues with it objectively, and it's a great guitar. So just be aware of that. If you want to get a guitar and it costs a certain amount, maybe that's expensive to you, I would say go for it if it makes sense for you financially. And if not, don't feel like you have to go out and spend a lot of money on a guitar. And the third and final thing, which again may seem obvious, but sometimes I feel like we get caught in our own world and we may think things like this. Just because you get a more expensive guitar does not mean you're going to be a better player. I have an Abasi 8-string Larada, and that's my most expensive guitar. It almost cost me $4,000, and it hurt when I got it. I was super excited to get it, but it hurt me to let go of that money all in one lump sum, if I'm just being 100% honest here. And I did not start playing like Tosin Abasi. So just wanted to confirm that is definitely not the case. You still have to practice, and that's like, I'm going to use like an old example here, but if you give a master, or sorry, if you give a novice like swordsman a master level sword or whatever, they're not just going to become a master level swordsman. They still have to put in the work to do it. It's the same thing with guitar. It's the same thing with a lot of things. You have to put in the work to then get better. And to go along with that, don't feel like you have to, like, there are a ton of like technical players out there nowadays, and don't feel like I can't get this guitar because I'm not a technical player. I do not consider myself to be a technical player at this point in time, but that did not discourage me from getting the Abasi guitar, or even my Strandberg Pliny, which is my second most expensive guitar. I just got those guitars because I really wanted to get them and try them out and see if I would enjoy them. And so far, I have enjoyed them. And I play my own style of music on those guitars, and it's nice. So just focus more on who you want to be as an artist, and don't worry about the cost of the instrument. So those are 3 things to look out for in case you are on the hunt for your first expensive guitar, or maybe you're on the hunt for another one, and maybe you have realized that, hey, my floor is raised now, and I spent X amount of money on a guitar, and now the other guitars of a similar price point don't seem so bad. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay cool like a cloud, and have a great day.